welcome to a new episode of In Other Words with Danielle and Zara.
This is a podcast where we talk about a wide variety of different subjects, from the self-love movement to sexual abuse. So in other words, we talk about all the things.
Okay, so the brand that we're going to promote today is actually a creche / play school. And it's the one that my brother went to. So if you are in the northern suburbs, I feel like sending your child off to school is like the most terrifying thing.
Oh, for sure.
And
is it only if you're in the northern suburbs?
Well, yeah, unless you want to drive to Durbanville from the southern suburbs, which you're more than welcome to do.
Indeed.
Anyways, it is in the heart of Durbanville, and it's for kids up to grade RR, and my brother was so happy there, and he still talks about his time at Little Explorers. So if you do have littlies, check them out. They are on Facebook at Little Explorers.
Cute.
Don't you want to be a little explorer, Danielle?
Oh, I wish I were younger. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about imposter syndrome.
Yes.
So
and
this
all
is
the things that go along with it.
Indeed.
Confidence.
Indeed.
Or lack thereof.
Yeah. This is something that I feel like a lot of people struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
And like you might not even know what it's called. Because I mean, I didn't really know what it was called. Because I mean, I just remember sitting in class all the time and being like, wow, I don't know why I'm here. Like everyone else knows so much more than I do.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so dumb because, you know that you deserve to be where you are. But, you know, it's your brain that's just trying to sabotage you.
Indeed.
But okay, so just a nice definition of imposter syndrome. It is the internal experience of believing that you are not as competent as others perceive you to be. And basically you just feel like a phony. So you feel like you got there by luck or by accident or something like that. Like you don't actually deserve to be where you are. And it's like someday someone's going to find out that you're not as competent as everyone thinks that you are. Yeah.
That is what it is indeed. And I think, just from some stats for you, it is very common among women, high achievers and perfectionists. And although some people could be quote unquote diagnosed, it's actually not an official diagnosis, like with imposter syndrome. Studies show that up to 70% of all people will go through a stage or a period where they struggle with this idea of feeling like you don't belong somewhere where you clearly do.
Yeah. And I mean, this can also be at any stage of your life. So studying, working, even being a parent, I feel.
Yes.
You know, it's something that we all deal with. And I think it's quite linked with confidence. Yes. But so we just speak about our experiences with it. You can go first.
I will go first. So I think I've felt this in like various areas of my life. You're going to speak about the academics, so I'll just speak about, like, it sounds so silly, but I remember when I first got into a relationship, and I feel this way about, like, if someone even kind of likes me, I'm like, ooh, they just think they think I'm super intelligent and I love the Lord so much and I'm so flirty all the time. But actually when they see the real me, there's no way they could like me. Yeah. Like they're only seeing like a certain side, and at some point they're going to realize, oh, this girl is not actually so cool. Yeah. So I think that's something I've felt maybe forever. Sometimes I still feel like that. I'm like, could someone like me? Like, are you sure? Like me, like deal with me. So yeah, that's I think one area of my life that I've felt very insecure about.
That's quite interesting, and I feel like I've also felt that way with like making friends. If someone contacts me or whatever, and like they say, "Oh, let's meet," I'm like, like you won't really like me once you actually meet me, which is so dumb.
I like you.
Oh yeah, you have to.
I've met you.
That's true. Have you really though?
We only spend like all the time together.
That's true. But yeah, I think my biggest imposter syndrome thing is just with academics. You know, sitting in class, and especially with like the kind of degree that I do my honors in international studies / international relations. We call it both. But it's a kind of degree where people, like, you got to know current events, you know? And like, I don't really read the news that much. I find a lot of my information on Twitter or TikTok or Instagram. Like, I don't actively go and search for things, because unless something like really piques my interest. But then I'll be sitting in class sometimes and people will just say, hey, lecturer, what do you think about this current event that's going on? And I'm like, I don't deserve to be here.
No.
And then I feel like completely stupid as well because I don't really ask questions in class.
Really?
I mean, sometimes I do, but I mostly, like, I will respond to questions, but I won't really ask questions because, like, I don't really have any questions to ask. And then I hear other people asking questions and I'm like, how does your brain come up with that?
Yeah.
And then also just with getting marks back or whatever, I can get an excellent mark back and I'll be like, someone is playing a joke on me. There's literally no way.
This is true. I can confirm that this is what she says every time.
And like, I'll read the comments that they leave and I'm like, no, I don't think that's right. And then what's also just funny about me is like, I range from either thinking that I am just the best academic person who has ever lived versus thinking like, oh, I really know absolutely nothing and I don't deserve to be like getting any achievements or getting any awards, anything like that. So I'm like, no, I don't deserve that, which is really dumb because I know that I work hard and I feel like this is how everyone is, like, that you do work hard and you put in the time, but at the same time, like when you actually get rewarded for that work, then it's like, no, I don't deserve that.
Yes, and I think a lot of people, specifically like perfectionists and high achievers, as we've said, is often we'll achieve something or get a good mark and it's like, okay, cool, like squash it down and onto the next thing.
Exactly.
It's like you struggle to internalize any sort of success. And I think for me, I've also felt like this even throughout high school, like people think I'm dumb when I say like I don't feel like I'm super smart. I just work hard. And when I think about it, I'm like, okay, Zara, maybe you do have some sort of intellect. But again, like you said, you see people and they engage in like this like incredibly complex dialogue and you're like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
And so I think you can often feel like especially in academic circles, like, I'm not so clever.
Exactly.
And even with my degree, I'm going to be completely honest, like, I don't think it was that difficult. It just, there's a lot of reading.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that difficult.
Yeah.
And I remember doing it and I'm like, at some point this is going to feel impossible, surely, because you're getting a degree. And just like that point never really came.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like,
this is too easy for me.
Something's wrong. Like, this is, maybe they just like lowered the standard recently or something. It's like hard for me to comprehend that I actually like, I know I've always done well, but like,
no, I know the
hard,
feeling, like, but with our kinds of degrees though, because it is like reading based and also very research based, so you're not like sitting there trying to work out a maths problem or whatever, and like we're both good at those kinds of things. So I feel
not
like
the maths part.
No. At the reading, the reading, research, writing essays, like that's always come kind of naturally to both of us, I think. So when you're not sitting and like struggling, and which is like so weird, like why do we base how well we're doing based on how much we're struggling, right? And like I do it too. I mean, people also kind of perpetuate that kind of idea. Like, oh, if you're not staying up every night and you're not crying over your degree, then like it's not difficult. And I'm like, you're still achieving something great, And like I've had my fair share of struggles with like learning because it's just, there are just so many assignments all the time. There's so much to read and it can be very overwhelming. But like I'm not struggling to do something, but it's also because I like doing what I do.
And I think that's like a key factor is like when you like something, it's easier, quote unquote, to do better.
But it doesn't mean that it's meaningless. And I mean, that's something that I found as well. I mean, I have a degree. I graduated last year with BA Humanities. And I majored in political science and history. And I always find myself thinking that surely everyone knows what I know. And like it's that kind of thing. And like I've gotten this degree over the past 3 years and I did well in it and I worked incredibly hard at it, but at the same time my brain can't comprehend that I have something like that other people don't have. So I feel like surely everybody already has this knowledge. Like I don't have anything special to add to this world.
I feel exactly the same. And I think that actually could be a cause for conflict, because if everyone thinks the same way or knows the same things,
Exactly.
like we're probably all feeling like super insecure.
Exactly.
But something that I've found interesting with this idea of like struggling to maybe accept success or understand it is kind of how you've been taught and what society has told us. So I was thinking about this yesterday, like who would struggle with this, and I think to some degree most people. So like
100%.
if you've come from a like low income background and all of a sudden you get to a place where you are amongst wealthy people, there is that part of you that's like,
I don't belong here.
And the reality is you probably both worked, did the same degree and ended up somewhere. I always say like it's all good going to a private school in high school, but we're all going to end up in the same place.
Exactly.
You know, everyone's going to write matric, and you know
you're going to end up the same place as someone who didn't go to a fancy school.
Yes. And then I think of like as women, like being in, let's just say, the corporate world, which has been dominated by men forever.
Yeah.
I think it's very easy to feel like out of place,
100%.
you know. And then I was thinking like, actually imagine being a white man and knowing that you've been born with this so-called white privilege or this privilege of being a man. Surely you question like, am I just in this position?
Yeah.
Right? It's like I think so often we do sympathize and empathize with those who've been oppressed, etc. But I think it, like, to be fair, I think it must be difficult to be in a place and not know if you got there because of who you are or because you've actually added value.
Yeah. And I mean, on the same vein, like even with people of color, they're constantly being told like, you only got into medicine because you're black.
Yes, exactly. You know? They had to fill that quota.
Yeah, it's like there's no way that you got there with your natural abilities, which is like, I don't know, that's a whole other topic by itself. But it's still that idea that your hard work didn't get you somewhere. It's something else. Or even, I know, like for me, I often think like, oh, I just got lucky. Like there's, you know, it's not my hard work that actually made me get anywhere. But I think just a key fact with all of this is that we've kind of been told our whole lives that we need to base our success or our happiness on like external factors or external achievements. And I mean, we've spoken a bit about this in our stress episode, but what's really important is that you kind of just find that happiness like within yourself, you know, and like spiritually and like with the people that you love and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But when I feel like when you're constantly focusing on achieving something or trying to impress someone, because I mean, that can often be a thing as well. Sometimes people just really want validation
praise from other people.
And especially from authority. And when you have that kind of thing, you're always thinking like, oh, this, like I still don't feel happy, you know? So like, how can I be achieving what I actually want to be achieving? If you know what I'm saying.
I completely get you. And I think I've actually experienced this recently, like very recently. Like I always think like I'm going into full-time ministry, but I don't fit the mold. And I remember being called to ministry and I was like, people like me don't do jobs like this. You know what I mean? I'm like almost very outspoken. I feel like I'm not this like uber kind person who just like walks on water and everyone praises kind of thing.
You don't walk on water? Like, I know.
It's an analogy. And so it was almost like, I think for the longest time, I'm like, okay, people have affirmed me. They've put me in positions, given me opportunities in ministry and in the church. And I'm like, I feel like I'm constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like they're going to realize like, she's not that Christian. Like, and I know in my heart that I love Jesus and like, you know, I want to be used by him. Yeah. But there's also this other part of me that's like, they're going to find out. They're going to find out that you are not as good as you think you are, kind of thing. Yeah. Or like even recently I've been feeling like my views are maybe not as conservative as people would like them to be. And like in my own heart, I know that I love Jesus and I won't accept things just because someone told me. No. Like I will seek the Lord and I will figure things out and navigate things myself. But as this has come up and I've faced like some criticism, it's been hard for me. It's kind of like, ooh, now they know. Like, and it's like, now these opportunities are going to be taken from me kind of thing. So it's hard to like rationalize where you are.
Yes, 100%. 100%. So. I've also, I mean, like not nearly to the same extent that you felt it, because I'm not in full-time ministry, thankfully. But like, I don't know, just always being told, oh, you have to think this specific way if you are a Christian. And then, you know, I feel like what's difficult is that people kind of expect you just to have, I don't know, just all of a sudden read something and you're like, okay, well now I think that way.
Yeah.
But everybody, no matter like how liberal or conservative you are, you spend time thinking about what you believe.
Yes.
And I feel like everyone has gotten to that place through prayer, through like lots of research, all that, and thinking, okay, what do I really believe?
Yeah.
And it's difficult when someone tells you like, hey, all those things that you've put thought into, like, no, you can't be a Christian. Those are not Christian thoughts. And it's difficult. It's really difficult.
And then you begin to question, like,
exactly, am I even a Christian?
Yeah. And then there's another area that I thought of that I forgot.
I don't know.
Darn, I'll think of it.
Okay.
It'll come back.
Yeah. I think one thing I was going to say is that it's always important when you're kind of getting those thoughts to weigh them up against all the positive things, if you know what I'm saying. So, for example, if you, I don't know, like if you questioning, oh, am I even a Christian? Like, let's say on this podcast, like, should I even be doing this podcast? You know, like some people don't like it.
All the time.
Whatever. Then you got to be thinking like, okay, let's think about all the good that's come out of it.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with, like, let's say academics, you know, you're always thinking, like, I feel like I don't belong here. I feel like, I don't know, I'm just faking my way through it.
Yeah.
And you look back and you think of all your past interactions, let's say, or your past essays where you've gotten really good feedback, or you've had like positive interactions with your lecturers or with other students, you know, like there's so much good that can counteract the bad that's in your own head.
Yes.
You know?
Makes sense. I thought of the other example.
Oh, good.
I'm just giving all these examples because maybe you'll relate to them. But like, I am so hesitant to call myself a musician. I did music in high school, theory grade 5, and I feel like I remember nothing.
Yeah.
And like I played the sax, which I've always been insecure about, and the thought of playing a sax in front of a human being still stresses me out more than you know.
So dramatic. But she always did very well in her practical exams.
Which for me never made sense. That was one thing. I was like, but don't you hear that this sounds really bad, people?
Yeah.
Anyways. But I've always equated, like in my mind, a true musician is someone who's able to like write their own music. And I don't feel like I have a gift for writing music.
Yeah.
And I love singing and I'll sing all day long. But because I don't write what I sing, I feel like I'm not a musician. But then people will be like, no, but like you are. And like, and I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yep. And I mean, I know exactly the feeling. Because, I mean, like I got my grade 8 in piano, but then after I left high school, I mean, I never had a chance to practice really, because then I moved to Stellenbosch and I don't have a piano there. So I have...
You can move home.
I can. But I have like all these past memories of being able to play these great pieces or whatever. And now I'm like, ugh, I don't know how to do anything. And then I try to sit down and learn a piece and my brain's like, no, you can't. You're not allowed to do that.
And I think what's difficult, and a lot of people, Ben Platt has a song called Older, and I love it because he's basically saying like you get to an age and like you wish that you'd done things differently when you were younger, or you're young and you can't wait to grow up, and no one actually lives in the here and now. And I for the longest time felt like I was almost living quote unquote in the shadow of who I used to be. You look back on yourself and you're like, I was so much better then, or I, you know, that you can't, you like you see yourself as like a different person. Back then I was good at this and now I'm not. Indeed. Kind of thing. And I think we're going to speak about like how to combat these thoughts, but I think everyone has them, like
100%.
These insecurities and like struggling to just be confident in whatever role you've been given. It can be difficult.
It can be very difficult.
We feel it too.
Indeed. But yeah, I think we can move on to how to cope with it.
Yes.
I think the first
just get over it.
Yeah, just stop. Stop thinking that way. But for real, it's just don't compare yourself to other people.
Yeah.
And also, like, don't even compare yourself to your past self.
Exactly.
Like,
that's huge.
It's such a big thing, especially if you're a high achiever in high school. Like, I know so many people, and I mean, I feel like both of us kind of included, you know, you're in high school, you're involved in leadership roles, you're doing very well academically, you're doing sports, you're doing cultural activities, and it's just like you're doing everything. Then all of a sudden you get to varsity, and like, I don't know, for me, I would have like a few lectures and I'm like, I want to go sleep right now.
Right?
I'm so tired.
I think like, imagine being a parent young and then having another child like older.
Yeah.
Like you change, like, and your children are different.
Yeah.
So like, even just to compare, like, oh, I remember when I had all this energy and like I was so great with this child, or my one child turned out differently to my other. Like, you can't compare things like that, because your circumstances are always different, and we're constantly growing.
Exactly.
So.
And yeah, I mean, you always have to think like, okay, like, what am I doing right now? First of all, am I enjoying what I'm doing?
Yes.
Because I feel like that's always the most important. And also, 100%. Am I actually, like, am I trying at what I'm doing? And most of the time, you are trying. Yes. Like, I don't really know many people who don't try. And if you don't try, then, I don't know, start.
Start trying.
Yeah. So, like, when you just, once again, focus on, like, the positive side of things, like where I am right now, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and not comparing yourself to how you used to be, or even comparing yourself to how you want yourself to be, or also how you perceive others to be, because I can promise you most people are feeling the exact same way.
I've always said the one thing is, I often will walk out of a meeting or something and I'm like, damn, I wish I didn't say that, and they probably think I'm terrible, and I'm terrible, and now they're not going to want me here. But someone once said to me, no one cares always worried about what you said, they're too busy worrying about what they said.
Definitely. I hardly ever remember anything anyone else has said, but I always remember what I said. I remember what you said. Yeah, but you're the only one.
Okay,
don't worry. But yeah, like, most people are always focusing on themselves.
Yeah,
so don't you worry.
And then I think another, like, as a Christian, I think some people will say it's good not to think too much of yourself. But I think as a believer, like, I've come to realize that, like, God is God and I will never be God. Never. And I am human and I make mistakes and I'm pretty imperfect, and praise the Lord that he's still good and he still loves me.
Amen.
So I will never ever think that, like, I got where I am just because I'm so wonderful, because that is not the case. Yeah. But at the same time, I also know that I've been created in the image of God, and any ounce of knowledge or creativity that I have, to deny it is kind of to, like, step on something God's created, you know. And so I think what's so beautiful about being a believer is just holding that balance of, like, being humble, but also knowing that God has given you skills and talents, and now you get to be a good steward of it, and you get to use these things.
And like, he has given you the ability to do what he wants you to do. Yes. But yeah, that's a very good point. But I saw that in an article as well. They were saying, like, you need to learn to, like, navigate between humility and, like, fear, if you know what I mean. Yes. So humility in the sense that, you know, if someone says, oh, well done, you did really well in this, and you're like, oh, cool, it was nothing, it's probably, you know, I just got lucky kind of thing. But then fear is like, oh, I didn't really do anything, I don't know why I got such a good mark or whatever. So yeah, and I think it's a good point that we have been empowered to do certain things. Yeah, I like that. I think another thing that I think is really important, once again, just going, like, back to thinking, is just thinking kind thoughts of yourself. I think what comes hand in hand with imposter syndrome is just thinking really negative thoughts, or like, I don't know, just berating yourself all the time, saying, like, oh, you're actually stupid and you don't deserve to be here. And, like, first of all, like, would you say that to your younger self? Or would you say that to a friend? And if you wouldn't say it to, like, either of those people, like, just imagine sitting down with your 6-year-old self or whatever and being like, you are dumb. You know, like, you wouldn't ever do that. It's like, why are you saying it to yourself now? Because you're still that inner child, if you know what I mean. So, like, why do we do it? Why do we do it to ourselves? We are our biggest critics. And it's just really dumb sometimes.
And then I think also just making sure that you have people in your life who see all of you kind of thing, who see different versions of you and can affirm, like, I've known you long enough. So, like, for example, if someone, like, criticizes you or says something about you that I know is not true, you're going to let it sit with you and bug you. But I'm going to tell you, no, Danielle, I've known you for 7 years.
Really?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
We,
yeah, 7 years.
We suck at maths.
Yeah,
We've established this. And that's not even like self-berating. That's just the reality.
Yeah.
Maths is lame.
Yeah, we don't like it. We did fairly well in high school. Like, let's not deny our abilities.
No,
but we didn't enjoy it.
No, we
and
both went for extra maths.
Yeah. We
and
didn't
the minute
enjoy
we
it.
finished it, we were happy to be done.
And I've never thought about it again.
Even me.
Yeah.
So yeah, as a person that's known Danielle and has seen her grow, I can tell you that's not true. Whatever someone else has told you or whatever you've told yourself, that's not true, Danielle.
Exactly. And ditto to you.
Oh, ditto. It sounds so weird without like an American accent.
Ditto.
Ditto.
I think what it all comes down to is just working on your confidence and just confidence in yourself. And I think, once again, like if you're a Christian, I feel like it's often maybe more controversial to have confidence in yourself, because we know that, you know, we're not as important as God is. But I feel like through God you can be confident in yourself.
Yes, I mean, the song Who You Say I Am, like I am who you say I am.
Exactly.
And God doesn't say you terrible
you
human.
suck and you don't deserve to be where you are. He doesn't say that.
No.
Because and like if you first of all know that you worked hard, and it goes back to what you said, it's good to talk to people, people who've known you, people who you know are honest with you and like who love you, and they can tell you like, hey, you do actually work hard, you do actually deserve to be where you are. And I feel like that is good for building self-confidence. And once again, just being kind to yourself, and also looking back at your achievements. Like Devin was saying, he likes to write down his achievements so that
when he feels like a failure, he realizes he's really
He's not a failure, because he's done lots of nice things.
Exactly. This podcast, how well is it produced? Shout out to Graphic Studios.
Exactly. So if you need to write down your achievements, or if you just need to write down, I don't know, it doesn't even need to be like solid achievements, but just writing good things down about yourself. Like, hey, I like that
and also,
I'm
again,
kind to
keeping
people,
it
whatever.
in balance. We're not saying
that you're the best person ever.
No,
but I think in this world where everyone wants to kind of tear you down, it's good to know who you are and why you are not the worst person in the world.
Yeah. And I also think, though, it's so important that we are, it sounds weird, but like doing the work, like actively, like intentionally trying to grow and like realize like, what can I learn from situations, and if I'm in a position where maybe I feel like I don't deserve it, again, like you said, well, what can I learn? Like,
exactly,
how do I combat these feelings? But I also think there's this negative narrative in like songs like Confident, or like you go on Pinterest and it's like, I am powerful, I am a woman, I will achieve the best things ever, I am. And it's like, you're gonna read these and they might make you feel better for like 2 minutes, but if you don't actually just genuinely start, like one of my favorite verses is do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And Caroline Leaf wrote a book called Switch on Your Brain, and it speaks about how when you change your thinking and you start to do things differently by habit, they are literally like your brain physically changes. So it is possible.
But
I don't think you're like super wonderful either. But just know you are wonderful.
You are wonderful. But and I think it's also just important to be able to catch yourself in those thoughts. And I feel like that can often be the most difficult thing, because sometimes you might think, oh, it's normal to think this way. And maybe it is normal, but it's not good necessarily. So when you start thinking to yourself, oh, I don't belong here, I'm a phony, then catch yourself, be like, hey, stop that right now. You do belong here. Because you do. I mean, especially if you've been hired somewhere, or if you've been accepted into a specific degree or a specific program, whatever, or even just going into a specific stage of your life, like you're there for a reason, and someone's chosen you to be there for a reason. If you're a Christian, like we are, you know that God has put you there for a reason, and like you have work to do over there. So it all happens for a reason. It sounds super corny, but I truly do believe it. And you wouldn't be where you are if you hadn't like worked hard. I don't think like everything happens for a reason, and I just really don't believe that nothing happens by accident. No,
nothing happens by accident.
It's
all meaningful.
And so are you.
You're meaningful.
You're meaningful. You're meaningful.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, in my
You're
opinion.
meaningful.
You're meaningful. You're full of meaning.
Thank you. Yeah, but I think just know that you're not the only one that thinks bad thoughts of yourself, because we do too.
All the time.
And every Sunday before we release a podcast, we're like, what we said was complete rubbish and people are going to hate it.
Yeah, and then we listen to it.
And we're like,
oh, it was actually pretty good.
Not bad.
And if you don't agree with us, well, keep your thoughts to yourself. I'm joking.
No. Share your thoughts with love. With love.
I am joking.
Lovingly disagree.
Exactly. And that's okay. We don't mind.
No. But I think that's kind of all we have to say. And if you have any follow-up questions or thoughts, or even if you just relate, let us know.
Indeed.
Cool. So I think we have a big announcement in the next episode, so
stay tuned. And you have to listen to the full next episode, because we don't even know when we're going to say it.
No, we don't. Bye.